Hello, everybody. This is David Ruff, and man, what another day are we having? All kinds of news is happening, but I think the number one thing that I could say is happening today is the Nordstream pipeline got attacked somehow. Something happened on both of the Nordstreams. Now, is this an attack? Is it sabotage? What is it? Now, it is highly unlikely that these things would just both blow at the exact same time, but this is all playing into the exact same playbook that we have been warning against all of this time. So we're going to be talking about that today. We have a bunch of stories that we're going to be covering today. Let me know what you're interested in talking about as well. Leave it in the comments below, and we're going to jump into our first story of the day. All right, you guys, as we jump into these stories, I got lots to say about it, so I'll let you know what I think. But our first story, if you want to go to market@businessinsider.com, the story is talking about there is now a 98% chance of a global recession, which signals a severe downturn and more downside risk for stocks. I kind of laugh at that because only a 98%? Guys, I was telling you it's a 100% chance back in April. Okay. They also said that most asset classes have priced in a moderate but not severe recession so far. All right. Well, the majority of people these days are asking me over and over and over again, David, what is going to happen with the interest rate? How high do you think it's going to go? And that is the wrong question to be asking. You need to be asking, how long will it be high? Here's the deal. If you raise the interest rate to 20% for 1 week, everyone would just ride out that 1 week. Nothing much is going to happen. What then would happen if you raised it to like where it is right now? It's at 3 and change. What if we put it at 5 and left it there for several years? It would absolutely decimate the economy. So the big move here, the biggest damage to the economy and so forth, is how long they will stay high, not how high will it go. How long? So ask a different question. Still, we don't know, right? But if we look at all the amounts of debts, corporate debts and personal debt and federal debt, Ontario, provincial debt, state debt, if we look at that, there can give you an idea of how far they can go before they break, because they can't afford the debt on their loans. That's going to be the problem. So we can actually calculate that because we know how much debt they would have to pay and how much incoming tax revenue they have. All right, so let's jump into the rest of it, you guys. There is this chart that's right here. I thought funny. It is a global RPM. What is RPM, you guys? It's a recession probability model. And in all their infinite wisdom, they're like, well, it's high right now, but it was also high in 2020, and it was high in 2015, and it was high in 2008. 2003, it was high in 2001, so it's high all the time. Okay, so I don't know if you need, just look out the window. Actually, just look at the businesses around you, talk to somebody that's outside of your little circle, and they're going to tell you the economy is really, really bad. Okay, next story I wanted to show you is BlackRock. BlackRock is one of the world's largest companies, owns half the planet. BlackRock is saying it's time to shun most stocks. Time to shun most stocks, with markets underestimating the risk of a Fed-induced recession. This is at businessinsider.com. So it says investors should avoid most stocks with recession risks rising, according to BlackRock. I think this is very, very nice for them to say, because it's obviously going to be way, way higher. I mean, the reality of the subject. I think that for sure we are in a recession, not we're about to run into a recession. We are already way, way, way inside of a recession. BlackRock is worth $10 trillion with a T. Remembering the United States government is at 30 trillion in debt. So 10 trillion. This is one of the largest companies on the planet. And they're saying that most central banks aren't acknowledging the extent of the recession needed to rapidly reduce inflation. We would need an absolute wrecking ball to come to the economy and blow unemployment way up, in addition with high inflation. This is the bill that has to be paid. This is the bitter pill that we have to swallow because of all the money that we printed in the past couple of years. Now, I put all of my thoughts on record and we put it out there. And I thought there is no way that we could ever get to the rates that we are at today. Unbelievable. I never thought they had the guts to do it. But now that we're here, of course, we have to have a different strategy, right? The strategy we had last year is different pre-war. It's different once the war is here. It's different when they raise the rates so high. We need to constantly be changing our strategies to be able to succeed. All right, let's jump into the rest. This is BlackRock. So it's saying people are not understanding how serious the crash has to be. The U.S. Central Bank indicated last week that it will raise the rates to 4.6%. 4.6. Okay, so we're estimating it to be at 5, to hit 5. So let's see what it actually is going to do. And look at this. The chairman, Jerome Powell, he said it's a very high likelihood the U.S. faces a period of below trend growth. Do you know what below trend growth is? Below trend growth is recession. Big problems, everyone losing their job, cost of everything going to the moon. So, they're saying a lot with just a couple words. All right, you guys, let's jump into the next one. What's happening with our Canadian dollars? Our Canadian dollars are suffering. The value of a Canadian dollar keeps falling against the greenback, as even though we are matching the United States and raising our rates, bang, 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 bang. I want you to look up Brent Johnson and his dollar liquidity milkshake theory, where the U.S. is sucking all the dollars into the country because they are thinking that it's safe. Our Canadian dollar is currently trading at 73 cents US. That's what a $1 is worth. If we look on a chart in the last year, we hit as high as like 81 cents. Today, we're sitting all the way down at 73. It's like the lowest in many, many years. This is the crazy part. The US dollar right now, if you buy a treasury, and it may pay you 3%, but inflation, stated inflation is 8%, core CPI, realistic. The real inflation, if measured back in the 80s, same way, if you go to shadowstats.com, you'll see that it's sitting up at 16, 17%. So people are happy to make 3% and lose 17, which means you're going to lose 14% of your purchasing power, and that's considered a good deal. People are lining up as long as they can go to check into a line where they're going to lose 14% of their money. Absolutely crazy. Never thought I would ever see that in my entire life. Bananas. All right. So the Canadian dollar is suffering bad right now. Really, really bad. Now look at over in the UK. The UK, now we're getting into Europe. Man, Europe is in serious doo-doo, guys. Europe, look at housing sales collapse as UK lenders withdraw mortgage offers. So they just got a new prime minister. Now this new prime minister is Liz Truss. Now she has taken all of her ideas from Ronald Reagan and from Margaret Thatcher, both conservatives. And so she's done the same thing, giving tax cuts and boosting money into businesses so that they can create more services. Now, we need more supply of everything. We are short of everything. If you have found any item that you go shopping for in the last 2 years that has gone up in price, it's because there's shortages. There's not enough stuff to go around. People aren't making enough stuff, and we printed too much money. So we need stuff. Yes, that's absolutely right. But now they're punishing the UK by going conservative. Home prices are crashing. Stock market is crashing. Some of the worst days that they've ever seen in the stock market, and home sales are slumping bad. So going conservative, they want the problems fixed, but man, it's going to come with even more problems. So look at that. Home prices expected to fall 15% across the United Kingdom, which means trillions of dollars. Now, let's get into one of the very interesting ones of the day. This is the Nordstream pipeline that has been attacked or sabotaged or whatever it is. Now, I want you to look at this picture. You can look at this at cbc.ca. This is a Canadian one. It shows a picture of the ocean with a large, large area where you could see bubbles coming up. Now, how big is that area? It could look like a half a kilometer or a kilometer across. It's fairly large. So as those pipes are laying on the bottom of the Baltic, they've hit them and they're spewing gas upward. It's methane gas that is going up. But I found it interesting, how deep are those pipelines? Because you're thinking, is it at the bottom of the Pacific? Is it the bottom of the Atlantic? And we're talking thousands of feet down. It's not popping up here right now, but it's only sitting in like 70 meters of water. It's not a very deep sea, the Baltic Sea. Here we go. Sections of the pipeline lie at a depth between 80 and 110 meters. Okay, so just to put this into context, all right? So the Nordstream pipeline goes from Russia all the way to Germany underneath the ocean. But the ocean is not like the Pacific and the Atlantic. It's a very shallow body of water. So the pipe is sitting at 80 to 110 meters. Just to put that in perspective, I'm a scuba diver. I go and put that one tank on your back like you would see, just for regular recreational divers in the movies. And I've dove down to 40 meters myself, just with one tank on my back. Okay. Now, to go down to 100 meters, you need a second tank on your back and some more training. But we're not talking about at a depth where you need super duper solid steel things and a submarine. It's not at that depth. It's possible. There's all kinds of commercial divers out there that could get to that depth. So who did it? So the pipelines that go to Europe, right? They don't want to buy Russian gas because of whatever their political views are. This is the thing, though. Russia is still going to make the money. At this point, when oil is going up and up and up in value, the oil that they have in their ground is going up in value, and they haven't even touched it yet. They have an incentive not to take it out of the ground. And now from a political standpoint, imagine the strength that they could do. Now they've shut off Nord Stream, but a lot of the oil today is going to China, and then they're shipping it around. They also have other pipelines that go through by land, much easier to hit, through Ukraine and through Poland. So, those could get hit really, really easily, man. Someone could just walk up to it and hit it with a pickaxe and create a big problem. But these ones that went under there, man, Russia, guess what they're probably going to do? As soon as it gets cold in Europe, they're just going to shut all the taps off. Want to freeze them out. Your politics, schmolitics, they don't care. And like, imagine that strength that they have. They're like, okay, what is it? 100 million people freeze to death. Go ahead. So, this is going to turn out rough, man. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I think there's some serious trouble that's coming. Now, both of those are hit. What is going to happen? I want you just to go to CBC or just look up a picture, and it really gives you an idea of how serious that problem is. It's really big. It's very polluting. It's methane gas. It's big for CO2 damage. I want you to go check that out. That's just for your own knowledge. Now, what is Russia trying to do at the exact same time? They're opening up a BRICS reserve currency. So if you want to go to Observer Research Foundation, orfonline.org, the BRICS is trying to build a new reserve currency. I'm going to read this verbatim because I want you to hear this. While Russia and China are leading de-dollarization, okay, so that's getting away from the US dollar. While Russia and China are leading the de-dollarization initiatives due to geopolitical rivalry, India, Brazil, South Africa have supported BRICS statements on altering the global financial system in their own interests. So I have two examples I wanted to give you. Brazil, read this. Brazil's dependence on the dollar is quite evident because approximately 90% of Brazil's export invoicing is denominated in dollars. Even when the United States only receives 17% of Brazil's overall exports. The imbalance is prompting Brazilian policymakers to support forming a BRICS reserve currency. He also stated BRICS was not created as an instrument of defense, but as an instrument of attack. So you guys, What does this mean, the de-dollarization, right? Because we live in Canada, we live in the United States, and it's hard for us to imagine. But imagine that a country like Indonesia is going to go to Saudi Arabia and try to buy oil. They're not allowed to buy it unless they buy it in US dollars. So they have to go and create enough palm oil and grow it with all the farmers, try to sell the palm oil on the open market in exchange for US dollars, get the US dollars, and then go buy the oil, right? We have to change the way that we think because a lot of the world needs to somehow come into possession of US dollars first to be able to go out and buy the goods that they want. And this is where they want to push back against that. And what did the article say? For their own self-interest, because paying those premiums for US dollars as it keeps going up is hurting them more and more and more. Canada and the United States are in a privileged position where our debts are denominated in our own dollars. Most of the world does not have this, and it is a privilege that we have abused and abused and abused. And if it was any kind of real relationship, we would have broken up a long time ago. So how is it? Imagine if your kid could draw a picture on a notepad and give you a picture on a notepad, okay? And they would draw this picture for you, and you'd say, "Oh, thank you so much." And you would go, "Here is 5 cents," and you give them a present. Now, there's been an exchange, but they gave you a picture that's not worth anything, right? And you've given them some money for it. So in the exchange of the world, Canada and United States can print or draw as many pictures as we want. But in exchange, we're demanding from the other side hard assets. Give me your oil. Give me your iron. Give me your copper. Give me your stuff. And in exchange for their hard labor and stuff, all Canada and US are doing are pulling off a new piece of paper, drawing a new picture, and going, "Here you go." And that's our currency. Now, you can't default on your debt when you can print your own currency. So US dollars can be printed to the moon. They owe their debt in US dollars. But here's the problem. When all of Africa, South America, and all these other countries have their debts in dollars, as they keep printing, their dollar crashes. They need hard assets to buy those dollars, whereas we can just fictitiously pull them out of thin air. It's the privilege that the West has abused for hundreds of years. And so the idea of the BRICS countries, so Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, in addition, now Argentina wants to join, is where they will have money backed by something. And that means that we're going to go back to a system similar to what we had in the United States of America. These dollars, this is a dollar bill printed in 1928. Do you notice on the top it says silver certificate? Silver certificate. And on the bottom it says $1 silver, and that it would be redeemable upon demand. So I could walk into the bank with this dollar, hand it in, and I would get a silver coin in return. Now I know that there's always some money backing up the currency. Today's environment, the way it works, is the paper dollar is only fire starter. The only reason it's worth anything is because we all kind of agree together as a group that it could be worth something, but in reality, it's not worth anything. Whereas silver is used in a lot of manufacturing, right? Electronic vehicle, EVs, electronic vehicles, they use it in all soldering for chips. They use it for solar panels. They use it for all kinds of things. Yes, jewelry, but that's industrial purposes. This has intrinsic value. This would burn for 1 second. So this is why having a dollar backed by something, and that's what the BRICS countries want to do, back it with copper, steel, wheat, and grains, back it by something tangible that we know that there's value there. Then they can't overprint, which has been the problem for all these countries for hundreds of years. If you guys want to know more about that, I suggest that you go get this book by Ray Dalio, The Changing World Order. Amazing book, man. You should read it about this. It's the last 400 or 500 years of history and the history of the reserve currencies. One of the best books of the year. So how do we play that, right? How does this affect us? Well, when we're going through all of these problems, right? The Canadian dollar is dropping bad on the world scene. Now, Canada is not going to be as bad as places like Europe because we are a large country. We have a lot of natural resources here, and that's what the world is short of. We're short of natural resources. So we're going to be kind of okay. The United States will probably do a lot better than we're going to do. France is going to do pretty good. Canada is kind of like a B, you know? At least we're not a C, right? But we're kind of in the middle. But home prices are going to be continuing to drop down as interest rates go up. We're also going to be running into like not a soft recession where it's just a little bit bad. I'm talking it's going to nosedive. Imagine an airplane coming down at this angle, okay? Not a smooth little landing. I mean, boom. So it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. So what can we do is we got to run our lives a little bit like the BRICS countries. We have to have some commodities. We need stuff. I have a brother who installs air conditioning machines. And I said, you know what? Instead of having cash in the bank, I would rather have 5 machines sitting out in the garage. Because those machines, people will always need them. And the prices on the stuff is just going up. So this is what I've learned through my experience, and I call it band squashing. This happens on homes, and it happens on food, and it happens on stuff that you buy at the store. The band squashing. So we know there's stuff that's very, very cheap, and there's things that are very expensive. Homes are very cheap, stuff that homes that are very expensive. We'll see this where the lower price stuff will be going up and the high price stuff will come down, and the band of pricing differences will be squashed. Same is going to be with food. You've seen probably bread prices go way up, egg prices go way up. But the high-end foods people are not buying as much of anymore. A lot of cases they're going on specials and coming down because nobody will buy them at those inflated prices. We were just at Costco, and one bag of lobster, which used to be $20, is now $80. So what do you think? People would buy them at 20, yes, but once they hit $80, no one's buying them anymore. They're just sitting there all the time. So that's probably what what will happen is that those high-end items probably will not be there anymore, but they'll get squashed down and have to go on sale. The only way that the company can survive, but the low-end items will come up. So homes will do this, food will do this, and so will products. The essential things of life will be going up. The luxuries in life will be coming down. So if you can stock up for yourself the low-end items, I think that you're going to be doing very well. And you put off the high-end items for later, you're probably going to get them at much cheaper deals later on. Homes across where I operate in the Greater Toronto area, we're noticing this already. The lower price homes are not moving very much. The high price homes are dropping significantly in prices. We're looking at a house just for fun that was 18 million. They just dropped $4 million off the price. They cannot sell it, right? 4 million is a big price cut, and they're going to be cutting it more and more. They're probably going to have to reduce it by $1 million a month until they can finally sell that thing. Whereas if you had a home that was only 500,000, that thing might only drop 5%, maybe, because everybody has to downsize to live somewhere. Once you're at the entry level home, what are you going to do at that point? So homes are going to continue to go down. We had a great weekend. We sold 2. I mean, it went way over asking because we aggressively advertised, right? If you're in the Greater Toronto area, we can help you. If you're anywhere in North America and you're looking to build your businesses, we do consulting and advisory for everybody. We have a bunch of courses going to be coming out in the next couple months. We have a couple of books that are coming out in the next couple months. We've got a lot of exciting stuff. Anyway, we hope to see you around, hope to help you. If you know anybody that this can help, please send it to one person. I always appreciate it if you could do that. Please remember to like and subscribe and follow to this. I'm always here to try and help you guys. I want you to keep on going and crushing it through these tough times. We're going to be going through this tough time. As we go through it, though, we're going to have a chance to make some moves in this low and come out on the other side way better. I always say the next 2 years is going to dictate the next 20 years of your life, the next 2 decades. 2 years can affect the next 2 decades. This is really, really, really important. And I'm going to be with you every step of the way. I hope that you guys keep doing well. If you have any questions, please reach out to me anytime. Contact at Ruff Team Realty. We'll see what we can do to help you. Thanks very much for coming by, guys. Love you. Thanks so much for sticking around. If you like that video, you might like this one and maybe something like that.